How's it going? This is your Supply Chain Pro here, and today we will review the top 4 best ways to boost productivity on the job. In a previous video, we talked about how finances are the most important priority to a traditional business. Different businesses have different ways of earning money, however, all of them use different data sets to track performance so that they understand how their daily actions are impacting their long-term financial performance. Remember, the goal of a traditional business is long-term sustainability of itself. In the supply chain industry, most companies have data metrics and contracts that are built around being able to achieve a profit on what's left over at the end of the day. This is what's known as margin in the traditional business world. Using an order fulfillment warehouse as an example, the warehousing business is likely charging its customer to ship to a retail store at a cost per case shipped. The warehouse is simply providing supply chain storage services for the company that owns the inventory. Let's explore the finances behind productivity by using an example. Let's say in a scenario, a warehousing company is charging the owner of the inventory, let's say it's your favorite toy or your favorite toothbrush or whatever good you can think of, at 10 cents per case shipped. Let's say that Joe is a case picker, picking an order at the warehouse that will ship to a retail store. Joe is making $10 an hour in our example and picks and prepares 100 cases for shipment in the hour that he worked. Basic math of the 100 cases times the 10 cents per case equals $10. So the company is bringing in $10 of revenue to ship these 100 cases in this hour, and the company is also paying out $10 in wages to Joe for his 1 hour of work at the company. In this example, the company is not making any money on Joe's productivity. In reality, the company is likely losing money in this hour. Think about the overhead and behind-the-scenes costs of running a building and hiring full-time employees. There are employee benefits that need to be paid, there are health insurance premiums and building utilities that the warehouse must also pay to keep the lights on and heat on for Joe. All of these things are at a cost that comes out of the company finances, which means that while Joe is working after expenses are paid, the company is actually losing money on Joe's 100 cases per hour performance. Let's say that Joe becomes an all-star performer and increases his productivity to 200 cases per hour to pick, to prepare, and ship. Now the company is bringing in $20 from the customer in Joe's 1 hour worth of work and only paying out $10 in wages. This is a 50% financial margin before the overhead and other costs of doing business are taken out. If this traditional warehouse business only had one employee, that's Joe, working at a time, that $100 difference between money coming in and wages going out would not be enough to cover the overhead rent for an industrial warehouse facility and would be way too much to justify one employee working at this rate. One of the principles that we will get into in another video is the principle of scale. If there were 100 Joes working at this traditional warehouse business picking at 200 cases per hour, and the company has the same contractual financial metrics as before, the company would be bringing in $2,000 per hour before overhead is taken out. That is enough to cover overhead, the utilities, as well as all the other necessary portions of a business. So productivity, contractual rates, and scale matter to a business's bottom line. Productivity is oftentimes expressed in a units over an amount of time mathematical equation. The most commonly seen productivity metrics in the supply chain industry are pallets moved in an hour or cases moved in an hour, but really you can insert any unit in the top numerator and any amount of time in the bottom denominator portion of the equation. For example, pages per minute might be a printing productivity metric. Knowing and understanding your company's expected productivity rates on any job is important for your and the company's long-term success in a business environment. If you're unsure about your company's productivity expectations, speak with your supervisor so you can understand what you need to do to be successful while you are on the clock. There are many factors that can influence productivity. Some are in your control and some are outside of your control. The single greatest influence on productivity is going to be speed. So think about someone who is sprinting across the building. They're going to complete their job much faster than someone who is tiptoeing across the building stealthily. Remember the old children's story of the tortoise and the hare, where the hare sprints off and could be done with the race far before the tortoise had he have stayed on task and continued the race until it was done. The goal here is to work consistently as well as quickly. High productivity performers oftentimes work proficiently, that is, moving with a sense of both urgency and calculation rather than erratically pushing their pace. The person working at a proficient rate will have a much higher productivity rate than the tiptoer or tortoise because they're simply moving faster. The concept that has the second largest impact on productivity is quantity of units moved per cycle. Let's use an example of a haystack. How long do you think it would take to move a haystack from the ground to the bed of a truck if you only moved one straw of hay at a time? It probably would take you all day. Talk about monotonous, one by one by one. I want you instead to think about the farmer who takes the pitchfork and scoops up hundreds and hundreds of straws of hay in a single motion and places them into his truck. How long do you think that farmer would take to fill his truck with hay, picking up multiple hundreds at a time? Maybe 15 minutes. The same principle applies to the supply chain industry work. A case picker, for example, who moves 8 cases at a time is going to have a much higher productivity rate than a case picker who moves 1 or 2 cases at a time. Be careful to watch your weight limits and understand your body. There's no point in moving more than your body can physically handle and sustaining an injury while on the job that'll keep you off of work. Know your body and know your limitations and work smart, not just hard. The third largest influencer on productivity is distance. The further something is away, the longer it's going to take you to get there. Simply put, it's travel time. If you can minimize the distance between point A and point B, you are likely going to be able to complete any task much more frequently because you're spending less time traveling. For example, if you have to take 100 cases and break it down and restack it into 10 pallets of 10 cases, you're going to want to put 10 pallets just a few short steps away from your original pallet of 100 cases. This way you are only taking a few steps to go from point A to point B and back again. You would not want to leave your pallet of 100 cases on the other side of the room and your 10 empty pallets on the furthest side of the room to spend all that time walking across the room to transport cases back and forth from. Anything you can do to minimize the amount of steps or distance in a process will increase your productivity. A fourth and more advanced way to increase productivity is to combine steps or combine physical motions so that you're doing 1 or 2 multiple objectives at the same time. While this can get a little complex, it can really lead to improved productivity gains depending on the specific circumstances. Think about it. If you're driving on a long road trip, if you try to stop for both gas, food, and to use the bathroom all at the same time, it would be much faster than stopping 3 different times over the course of an hour or 2. Talk with your supervisor or an industrial engineer if you're looking to think outside of the box when it comes to advanced productivity gains through the combination of multiple steps in a process. So there you have it, 4 ways to boost productivity at work. If you have a great, a terrible, or a unique productivity improvement scenario, comment down below. Like and subscribe if you found value in the information contained in this video. This is your Supply Chain Pro, out.